Well, it's finally time. So today I'm going to drive the car out to the shop and pull the motor. So today will essentially be my last time driving this car in quite some time. I would say probably a couple months, but should be back and running right. But today we're going to pull the motor out of this car and put it into the E91 M3 that I currently have at the shop. So the goal is to get that car running before I get my car done. So I think the goal is to have the wagon done and running by the end of this month. And yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a little bittersweet, you know. Not gonna be able to drive this car for a while, but it's gonna be some crazy stuff happening within the next couple months or so. Yeah, I'm really excited. So let's go drive this thing one last time. Alright, so I just drove from my house to the shop. Car is pretty much ready to be lifted. I'm going to rack it up and start draining all the fluids, and then, well, I gotta let it cool down. I just drove it really hard, you know. After all, it's one last time I'm gonna drive it in a long time. I'm gonna drive it really hard. So now I just gotta let it cool down. After I let it cool down, I'm gonna pull the motor apart, and yeah, let's get to it, guys. First step of anything that you do that you may get in the area of coolant or anything like that, pulling a motor, whatever it is, if you're working in the area of any of these plastic coolant lines, make sure to remove the coolant cap. That way it can depressurize the system. Otherwise, if you break one of these hoses, it will be pressurized and will shoot hot coolant all over you. So let's take this off and depressurize. The cooling system. Cool. Let's get to this. Hey, you ready for RB to go in there?
Take it, bro. I don't want it no more.
Hey, Henry, we're throwing an RB in here, huh?
Money, bro.
We're dropping the motor of the 370 in here.
Yeah.
I thought we're dropping the new F30 2.0 in electric hybrid one.
Alright, so we're going to drain the transmission fluid, drain the oil cooler, and leave everything else pretty much attached to the car because we're dropping the motor with the subframe. The wagon is going to be a manual, so the DCT trans on my car right now is coming off. I won't be utilizing the trans on this car because I have a F8X trans that's going to be on there. My F8X DCT trans is over there. The 6-speed trans for the wagon's over there. And then this is all the new parts for the DCT to mate onto my car. So they have a gearbox controller, so the transmission will be on a standalone controller, and then the harness that goes to the transmission, and then paddles, and then the clutch, flywheel, and all that stuff's in there in that box. So all the coolant lines are disconnected now. Now we gotta undo the power steering line and the AC line and motor and the steering rack. Actually, gotta disconnect the steering column. I think that's pretty much it. The motor's ready to drop. So let's get to it. All the AC lines, the power steering line, oil cooler line, pretty much all the radiator hoses. The steering rack is disconnected. Now we're getting ready to remove the bolts for underneath for the subframe, and then we're going to set the table up to go up top and then remove it. Trans line's disconnected too. So now we're going to drop the whole motor assembly with the subframe, swap it over to that car, and yeah, get it installed. That's going to look pretty awesome with the motor.
Keep going.
Trans lines?
You're good.
Alright, so we got everything disconnected. The steering rack is now disconnected. Now we're going to lower the motor off this Harbor Freight table. By the way, guys, you guys can buy this at Harbor Freight.
Sponsor us.
No.
No. We don't
No. So now we're going to have multiple people look around the car to make sure that nothing gets caught while we lower it. So Henry, on this side, please. Adam, this side, please. And then Arlen's already on the bottom. And then Arlen's going to need a light. And use the light. Ready, boys?
Yeah.
I need you guys to verify.
Yeah, you're clear.
Oh
You
yeah.
gotta verify with me, alright?
Yeah, talk
Verbally.
to him. Talk to
Clear
him.
over.
Over.
Clear, Henry?
Clear.
Clear what?
Clear?
Wait.
See? Exactly. You're telling me.
Good job, Henry.
Clear.
Over.
Over.
Forgive these things so much. Fuck them up.
Alright, go. I actually have to hold down the other way. There you go.
Looks like you're
Clear,
good.
Henry?
So far so good.
And we're clear. Car goes up, motor's out. So that's pretty much it.
Marlon,
Lower
you good
down.
down there? You go up?
This is obviously if you're doing this with the lift, because you can't really do this unless you have a lift because the car has to be, up in the air. The other way would be to just, remove the front clip and then pull the motor forward. But in this case, because we're swapping the subframe over to that car, we're just dropping the motor instead.
Go.
So let's look at this.
Good.
Gotta make sure everything
Control
clears.
arms. It's not gonna whack the motor.
We're good. So as you guys can see, we have the full motor out, fully assembled. We're gonna support the rear diff so that, obviously because there's no motor in here, we don't want it to lean back and fall. But we are going to remove the transmission off this motor because, yeah, that one's going manual. So we're going to remove this and then assemble the subframe from that to this and then this to that and then
Good right there.
then we cry.
E.T. photo. E.T. photo.
Okay, so now we have the motor out of the car as well as the transmission. Drive shaft staying on here. That car, I bought new drive shaft, new axles, new differential, everything that I needed for my car is staying on here. All the new parts are going to go on that car. So what I'm going to do is just tighten this back on, and then I'm going to start pulling off some of the parts remaining on here that I won't be using. So the trans cooler lines won't be utilized because the position of where it sits won't work for what I need it for my application, since I am going to be running a F8X transmission. So the E9X DCT has the cooler lines here. It goes over here, up, and it goes above the transmission. There's a oil thermostat, which is on that trans. And then the F8X, it's gonna be different because it runs all the way to the front, and then it goes to the side here. So I gotta get those lines, or maybe make some custom lines. But this is coming out. It's kind of weird on these cars because I can't imagine trying to service this. Like, you literally have to pull the motor to do it because it's behind the heat shield. It goes here, behind here, all the way up here. That's so odd. So that's coming off. I gotta pull off the bumper later on, pull off the oil cooler, pull off the trans cooler. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I gotta get the all these heater hoses off of here. So now we're just going to basically pull everything off of this car before we assemble the motor in that car. I gotta make sure to take off what I need from here to put into that car, and then put the subframe on this car, put it back down, and it's gonna be sitting for maybe a week or two.
So do they get the sneak peek on what's coming?
No, not
No?
yet. Not yet.
No?
But that's fine. I'll tell you guys this. It won't be a BMW motor. Oh, the S65 is coming off. I am not doing a stroker kit. I am not building the motor. I'm not turboing it. I'm putting a different motor in it. It won't be a BMW motor. No, it won't be S85. No, it won't be an N54.
No,
This
it's not
car-
S55.
Yeah, this car will be making a lot of power, and it will be a non-BMW motor. So, yeah.
Guys, it's LS turbo.
So yeah, a lot of people have been wondering, maybe S54, S55, N54, S85, built S65. It's none of those. There's no BMW motor. I'm sorry, guys. You guys might hate me for it, but you guys might love me for it. We'll find out.
Hey, I'm already getting love, so you know. It is what it is.
Exactly. So you guys will be seeing that very soon. Oh, this is actually different. So we gotta swap this off.
Steering rack.
Yeah, because it's actually shorter. I didn't even notice that. So we got a little bit carried away because we were kind of in the moment, and you know, when we're in the rhythm, we just kind of want to knock things out, right, Adam? So we pulled the motor out of here, removed a bunch of heat shields from my car to swap into the wagon, and then basically just went through and looked at what this car needs to put onto this car, swap over, vice versa. So this subframe from this car is on this car, this subframe and motor is in this car, trans is out of this, but the motor is in this car now. So it's fully reassembled inside of there in a sense, well, bolted on, but it's not wired up or anything like that. We still have a lot of stuff to do to it, but check this out. How cool does this thing look? It looks like it belongs in here. So we have the engine in here, the harness is in. This is just kind of just chilling because I wanted a picture of it. I need to source a manual transmission harness to remove the DCT one because he is going manual. So I gotta find that. Instead of pulling stuff off of my car for like all the fuel lines and evap stuff, I'm just gonna buy new stuff for this car. Oh man, that's gonna be hard to connect that hose on. Hey, there's one hose at the heater core that's gonna be hard as hell to put on, man.
I was gonna mention that about the heater core, but
I don't know, we'll figure it out. Shouldn't be too bad.
And Mike, why did you take the 328 subframe versus the M3?
So yeah, that's another thing too, actually. So it's not because I wanted to downgrade or anything like that. I could get an M3 subframe and replace this one, but I need the subframe from this car because the 320 and 335 shares the same subframe. And the reason for that is because the subframe is actually smaller than the M3's, and you know, I need it for my new motor that's going in the car.
LS swap.
So as you guys already know, I already said it earlier, it's not a BMW motor. It's going to be another motor.
LS turbo.
So yeah, that's pretty much for today's vlog. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to film this motor going inside of here, but it honestly was the exact same as pulling out of that car, putting it in here. This was literally meant to be in here. Everything that that car has, this car has, all the hardware, everything that you would bolt down onto this car, including, I mean, if you can look right here. So for this car, this would be for the stock intake, and this would be now for the M3 intake. It's literally the same. The heater core valve to control for the heater is actually slid in perfectly normal, like it was meant to be there. So there's gonna be a couple things I gotta change out, like this hose here no longer slides into that, so I gotta change this hose out from my car to this car. There's gonna be a lot of small stuff, but that's pretty much for today's vlog. It's been a long day working on both these cars at the same time. All hands were on deck today knocking these cars out after we were done with the stuff at the shop. But yeah, that's pretty much for today's vlog. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content as well as seeing this build and that build. So I think next we're going to be filming more of this build. So it's kind of going to jump around. So yeah, guys, take care.